Hey, I've seen a lot of YouTube videos lately detailing the action and positioning of the right elbow. And these top coaches are telling us that we have to have it be in a certain position at the top of the swing and then be in a certain slot as you come down, or else you can't play good golf and have a good golf swing. So I want to show you through multiple examples on how this is at best misleading advice, and at worst may cause your swing to spiral straight into the garbage. All right, so first let's look at the position of the elbow at the top of the swing, and how a lot of YouTube coaches, they want you to have your elbow directly under your wrist like this, so it feels very kind of restricted, jammed in. A lot of people actually cannot get their upper arm bone to go this external at the top of the swing. They just don't really have the flexibility to do this. So here I've got my elbow right under my wrist. This is where they want it to be. And of course you can't have this elbow up high from your side either. They ask you to kind of restrict that, not let it get way up here either, because that's bad, right? So let's take a look at some prominent examples. People that you've heard of before that completely break this rule, and yet they're either in the Hall of Fame or they've won millions of dollars playing golf. And so obviously it's good enough. Let's take a look at some people whose elbows came up and out this way, which you might call the flying right elbow. Jack Nicklaus, for example. Everybody's heard of him. The greatest of all time, arguably. His elbow was both up wide, and this is an internal rotation, sticking the elbow out like this. Here's another one that you may have heard of. Fred Couples. He also got the elbow really up, deep, wide, and flying. And of course, what did that get him, right? A one-way ticket to the poorhouse? No, it got him Masters champion, Hall of Fame, and he continues to win on the Champions Tour up until in his 60s now. Now let's take a look at a couple more examples. Here's Matthew Wolff. He's probably the extreme of all of them as far as you know, and he gets the club because he gets that elbow up here like this, causes him to make the club cross way across the line at the top of the swing. Of course, with him, he's going with an internal motion of the upper arm this way at the top of the swing. And what does he do? He reverses it and goes external as he comes down into the slot. Now let's take a look at what might be Matthew Wolff's grandfather or great-grandfather. His name is Jimmy Bruin. He was a top amateur champion in the British Isles back in the, I want to say, the 40s and 50s. And you can see he's absolutely got the same swing as Matthew Wolff. He lets that elbow fly, lets the club get way across the line, and then he reverses that arm this way as he turns through, and really he whips that club through almost like it's a scythe, like he was in a wheat field with the scythe cutting wheat. Just like that. That's how you would cut wheat very powerfully. And that's kind of the way he learned how to play. And he won lots of amateur championships this way. Now, besides being champions and in the history books, what do all four of these golfers all have in common? And that is that they could hit the ball a mile. And it's not a coincidence, because this act of getting the elbow both flying away from the side and even turned a little internally at the top of the swing will set you up almost like a baseball second baseman who catches the toss from the shortstop and is ready to turn the double play. His elbow will come up like this, he'll step and then reverse it like this, and that causes a massive bonus of torque to be added into throwing motion. And that's exactly what these guys are all doing, is they are using this for an extra supply of torque to cause the club head to get whipped to a higher speed than thought possible. So am I telling you to run out and start training your swing to do this? No, not necessarily. Now, if you already do that, just remember that it's not necessarily a negative. But what I am telling you to do is I want you to get rid of any notions of keeping the elbow packed in tight. Let it get wide. And that is because once we have the left arm on there too, the only way we can get this club really wide at the top of the swing is to have this arm way up and away from the side, from the ribs. And that's the only way we can really get a big turn. Look at that. Way away from the side of my body or my ribs. What I want you to get rid of is the idea, the notion that the arms need to be, quote, connected, or the elbows need to be close together, or that the right elbow needs to be kept constrained at all. And get rid of nonsense drills like this that I see people doing. Of course, what'll this do? It'll limit my elbow's ability to get any width away from the ribs, because the towel would drop out. I'd want to do the opposite. I want to go back and make sure that this towel drops out rather than trying to keep it in, because that's only going to restrict your power. Now here's one more great example. My mentor, Mike Austin, also believed in keeping the width all the way through the swing, getting very wide, and this involved getting that elbow really up, away from the side, and deep. And yeah, you could accuse him of having that elbow be flying a little bit too. Remember, all that move is this arm swinging away from the torso, and then this upper arm turning, rotating inwards like this. And this can easily, if you were to do something like this, it's easy to just reverse it as your first move down. As you start to pivot over, you just rotate it this way instead. And this can actually get you a ton of extra speed going through impact. Now let's look at another point in the swing where the so-called experts are telling you that you got to put your elbow in a certain position. So first they're showing you got to get this, jam this elbow in front of your pocket like this. But of course they never show this in context with an actual pivot like this, which makes, I see this all the time on the range now, where people, they're doing this extra move on the way down to pull that elbow down and jam it in front of the pocket like that, without also moving the body or turning the pivot at all. And so this now involves a yanking down of the elbow in order to kind of artificially place it in front of the pocket, just like they see in the images in these other videos. So again, we're talking about yanking this down just for the fact, just so that you can get the elbow in front and not stuck back here. But first, let me give you a great example of why the elbow does not have to be anywhere close to being in front of the pocket. And I know this guy had a goofy swing, but my goodness, Jim Furyk was one of the straightest hitters in golf history. And you can see quite clearly in this video, in these photos, that his elbow is clearly on the side of his body and not in front of his pocket halfway down. And yet Jim Furyk was measured as the best rate of face closure that they've ever measured before. So he had the most control of the face, probably one of the straightest golfers in history, one of the most accurate wedge players in history too, and he didn't jam his elbow in front at all. Now here's my one warning about the right elbow though, is that certainly it cannot stay massively internal coming down. Let's look at why that would be. Let's say you're here at the top, and even if it doesn't matter where you are at the top, if your first move is to be external, you're going to see what happens to the club handle. The club handle, it's not allowed to come around an arc, but instead it steepens the shaft. See, I'm not even pulling on it. Even worse is that you could also pull on it too, and that really sends it off plane. But the handle of the club, remember, it's got to follow this arc. And as soon as you start doing this, you're taking it off its arc and making it more vertical, dropping down behind you. Now, something has to give, because right now I'm not on a collision course with the golf ball. Once I'm here, I've just gone internal with that elbow. Of course, I start bringing it down, and yeah, my arm is way behind me like this, which is really no good. But once you're here, you're halfway down, you're starting to shift, and the arm's behind you, the club is steep because you've turned the arm this way. Well, now you have to go out to the ball somehow. You've got to create a collision to hit the ball out there. So now that you're here, now you have to go out to the ball this way. And the club head drops way under the plane, and the handle is way outside, and you're stuck as all stuck. Similar thing will happen to you if you are trying to jam the elbow in front of the pocket. This is the misleading part. They're not giving you the context. The elbow does not have to be moved very much in order to get in the proper slot in the downswing. It only has to move an inch or two. But what they're not telling you is the position of the body dictates where that elbow is going to fall 98%. This is why I see people, they're just trying to do this, and their posture's bad, they don't turn, but boy, I got my elbow in front of my pocket. Well, look at this now. This is going to result in the biggest block of all time, or even worse, a shank. And I see people screwing themselves into the ground trying to chase this idea without understanding the context. Now, if you have two things going for you, if you are maintaining your posture down into the downswing, and the club handle is arcing around to the left and exiting low enough left like it should be, then that elbow is naturally going to fall in front of your pocket. Watch this. Just like that. Naturally it will fall in front. You don't have to hardly do anything with it at all. And it just falls right in front of the pocket. Keeping my posture and turning and exiting around to the left. And my arm will not get stuck behind me. Be very difficult anyway, because I'd really have to turn it, and that's all. The only thing I don't want you to do is just don't turn it this way on the way down. That would be the one thing about the elbow you could really screw up. But trying to jam that thing by itself, trying to find some artificial means, just jamming it in there, it's a result of good body positions more so, and that'll help get the elbow to drop in front of the pocket. All right, so let's take a look at one where that's all I'm going to do. Keep the posture and exit left. And looking back at that one in slow-mo, you can see it's exactly how I'm describing. I am keeping the bow through impact. Most people are standing up. I'm rotating and making the club go around the arc, inside to square, back to the inside, where most golfers are chasing in to out like this. And so they can't get that. This is where your elbow actually gets stuck, because going in to out too much and your elbow will get behind you and you're going to have to flip it after that. So if you're looking for a little bit more distance, certainly don't restrict the elbow and try to keep it in tight, but let it come on up. Even if it's a little bit at the point, even if you've got to turn it out a little bit, just make sure if you do turn it out and that club points across the line a little bit, just make sure that you start by reversing it on the way down, and that elbow will drop nicely back in front of you again. You get some extra power. It's not for everybody, but if it's something that happens naturally for you, then stick with it. Don't be misled by exercises that restrict the elbow or force you to jam it like in a vacuum in front of your body without positioning the body correctly. Hey, thanks so much for watching. I hope you got some value out of this video. I'm Steve. Check out my website, hititlonger.com. There's hundreds of more videos and articles there that I'm quite sure going to help you with your golf swing. If I don't see you in the next video, I hope I see you longer and straighter down the fairway. Everybody take good care.